Hello again, I am Blunty, and this is the WD Black SN850 NVMe SSD with heatsink, and I'm going to do a quick look and an install guide for you today, with thanks to a sponsorship from WD themselves, because, well, now last time I talked about installing one of these drives on the PlayStation, I went in blind, didn't look at any guides or anything. I found it a bit clumsy and a bit awkward, and I got a bit of heat for it because, well, I made it look far more difficult than it actually is, according to a lot of people. And it's not like I was clumsy deliberately. Like I said, I went in blind. I'd never done it before. I was behind a camera, which always makes things more awkward, so we're doing in front of the camera this time. Inspired by the time I tried to show a friend of mine how easy it is to install a capture card for their streaming purposes, I made a video doing that one-handed. So I'm going to do this one-handed. In theory. Starring, of course, the aforementioned WD Black SN850. I will at least unbox it with both hands as we run through the basics here. The important numbers first. It's safely above Sony's requirements for a PS5 drive, screaming along with a sequential read performance of up to 7,000 megabits per second and a sequential write performance of 5,300 megabits per second. It's been checked and confirmed to fit perfectly within Sony's oddly chosen mounting space, including the heatsink, of course, which Sony advises is essential, not optional. It is important to note that while M.2 drives are a standard size, their heat sinks are not, so it's very wise to choose one you know will certifiably fit, as this one will. And it has a custom RGB light on the heatsink as well. Not so useful for the PS5 because you'll never see it, but fun to know if you want one of these for your PC too. Outside of that, it's everything you'd expect from a high-performance gaming-focused M.2 SSD to be, including, of course, that heatsink, which helps regulate the temperature of the sink so it doesn't thermally throttle. SSD drives, like GPUs and CPUs themselves, if they get too hot, they throttle themselves down, they slow themselves down, so they don't go ahead and damage themselves with excess heat if they'd kept running at top speed. That's why we want the heatsinks, and that's why I like this heatsink, because it's not just a slab of metal chopped on top of the chips like is often the case with these things I've noticed. This has little vent holes all the way through, so airflow goes through the heatsink. It's not just a slab of metal, what we'd call a heat spreader, really. It's a properly designed heatsink. So with all that said, back to the wide camera, let's start the install process, and one-handed, as promised. I will try not to thump the mic, which is a bit of a danger here. So, what you need to do, you want the side panel that has the drive on it. If you don't have the model with the drive, it's the side panel that doesn't have the PlayStation logo on it. So you want the back panel, essentially. So you want to get that. You want to bottom end towards yourself there. You want to grab the top edge. You pull up slightly until you hear it. No, wait, this edge? One of these edges. There it goes. Pull up, pull it towards you, and it should just come clean like that. Easy peasy. Now what you're looking for is this little panel right here. This is where the SSD goes. And a lot of people got on my back about not replacing this last time I showed the internals of this as well. I'm told this is essential because there's bespoke airflow design in there, so make sure this goes back on. The only tool you are going to need is a regular Phillips head screwdriver, a reasonably small one. So we pull out the trap screw that's on that, put it somewhere safe, don't lose it, and this will just pop out of there. One-handed, remember? Now there is a screw already installed inside here. Break my one-handed rule for a sec so I can get a close-up of this for you. There we go, that little screw right there. That's the one you're after. It might come pre-installed on the 110 if I remember correctly, but for most drives you're going to want the 80 position because M.2 drives do come in different sizes. By far and away the most common size is the 80, so let's just remove that screw. And whether or not you're doing this one-handed, I would strongly advise doing this with a magnetic screwdriver because those screws are, well, if they land on your carpet or something, you'll never see them again. Right, so there is a little metal ring there that is free sitting. It's not secured down, so don't lose that. That helps position the SSD properly as well. Next up, of course, grab your SSD. One of the edges has a little edge connector on it, and as you can see there, it is keyed. It's got a little slot in it, so you cannot possibly put these in the wrong way around. So you just slide it in there, and this is hard to see when I can't see the connector from this angle, but it'll just, there we go, it'll click in nice and softly. And then most of these drives will have a tendency to sort of sit proud and pop up a bit. That's fine. So we want to grab our screw, and if I can do this one-handed, set my screwdriver up, locate the screw on the magnetic head. Perfect. Oh, I'm so good at this. Oh, this is the tricky bit. Doing this one-handed because I got to hold down the drive and locate the screw one-handed. Oh, first try. So there we just rack that down. Now the drive is secure. It's not going anywhere. It's not falling out of that little slot. We can grab the little, what are you going to call that? The airflow plate. That'll slot back in there. Once more with the magnetic screwdriver. And first try into the hole. No jokes. This is a sponsored video. Don't make any dirty jokes. I'm warning you. So you're basically done at this point, and just reverse the procedure. So plop your plate down on your PlayStation there. In fact, I'm probably going to go this way around so I can get a little bit of force on it. There we go. And it should just snap back into place. And there you are. One-handed install of an M.2 drive in a PlayStation. Absolutely fuss-free first try. Now we just have to plug it in and set it up, which is the easiest part of all of this, because as awkward as that can be, and it is slightly more awkward than a PC install, really, if we're honest with ourselves, if you've ever done that before, the software setup side, beautifully done by Sony. So pretty much as soon as you turn on your PlayStation 5 after the install, the SSD is automatically detected, automatically tested for compatibility with the speed test, which as you can see, the SN850 here passes easily, like really easily. Then it's formatted for game installs, ready to go off the bat, all within a minute or two. Again, Sony have done this really nicely. Next step, install or move your games over to it, and then you never think about the little weird SSD cubbyhole ever again. You just more than doubled your game storage space, and the performance is seamlessly matched, and in fact technically measurably better than the pre-installed internal storage. It's larger and faster. But the passionate gamers amongst us will need, capital NEED, need a storage expansion for our PlayStation 5 sooner or later, because, well, what comes with out of the box is just under 670 gigabytes of free space for the games themselves. The rest is taken by system software and all that kind of stuff. So a terabyte drive, which is what this is, more than doubles your space. It also comes in a 2 terabyte version, by the way, if you're really thirsty for that game install space. And if you are like me, you really don't like juggling your game install libraries. You like having all your games installed, ready to go. So if something strikes you on a whim, if you get a mood to play a certain game, you don't have to play the game of uninstalling and reinstalling and uninstalling and reinstalling so you can make room for something else. And, don't like that. So all of my consoles and all of my gaming PCs have massive amounts of drive space, so I can just have my game libraries ready to go. So there you are. If you are on the hunt for an SSD for your PlayStation 5, I can and will heartily endorse the WD, because I've used WD drives for many years now, absolutely trouble-free, and in particular the WD Blacks I've used in some gaming rigs before on the PC side of things, and they are fantastic. Heartily recommend those. So thank you to WD for sponsoring this, and get to stay there. Stay there. Fine. Thank you to WD for sponsoring this. Hopefully you found this useful, and hopefully I've redeemed myself in the eyes of many of you who said I made it look far too difficult than what it was, and I was being unfair to Sony. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty. We'll catch you next time. And thanks as always to the patrons scrolling above there who, in addition to lovely sponsors like WD, make a huge difference in keeping this channel up and running, and me clearly not starving to death.